Okay, good morning. It's weird. I'm on the East Coast, so you have to excuse me. I was going to yell good afternoon. But my name is David Jones. I will be your facilitator today. I am really excited to be here. Is there anybody who was not on the first call that took place on April 1st? And I can remember that day specifically because it was April Fool's Day. So is there anybody that is on today's call that was not on that call? You can answer by unmuting, or you can actually put your answer in the chat box as well. Anybody that was not on the first call? Okay. All right. So I don't see any activity. So what that tells me is everybody, because I'm from the South, so we don't say every, we say everybody was on the first call as of April 1st. Okay, that makes me very happy, because what that's going to allow us to do is not have to spend as much time as going over like how to use Zoom, because my assumption is that we're all good because we're all here and we all have a really good understanding, especially because that was covered on the first one. So as you guys can see, again, you have the mute and the unmute option. During the presentation, there's going to be an opportunity for you to participate. So I'm going to ask some questions. And you can, and I'm going to say, hey, go ahead and unmute, or I'm going to say, hey, put your answers in the chat, or I'm going to say, you have an option to do either one. We'll see what happens. I like to keep it interesting, to keep the blood flowing. You never know what's going to happen. So let's find out. As well as we do have the chat. So you see the chat box there. Fun fact is, sometimes if you bring the chat up, it does like a small box. But if you like take your Zoom screen and slide it all the way to one side of your computer, where it like, or you can either blow it, you can blow it up and you can get the chat on the side. Or if you slide it to one side, the chat will automatically come larger on the side of it. I don't know if what I just said makes sense. Hopefully it does. But if you want the bigger chat screen, that's how you do it. And let's see here. My really good friend Siobhan, who I believe is on the call, she might have dropped off because she said her internet was like, in her words, doo-doo paper. Wait, are you there?
Here, this is terrible.
Hey, my very good friend Siobhan Shigag is on the call. Wait for her hands. Siobhan, we were able to send out the participant guide. Is that correct?
No.
Oh, no.
Email.
Okay. Well, the good news is it's in the chat. So if you click on that, you can download it. It will download straight to your desktop. And I will put the other one in there as well, because I'm pretty confident that I actually have the access and the ability to do so. Let's see here, interactive, and oh, you know what? I put them in there and I never hit send. That's so funny. They just been sitting on my side. So I blame Miss Erin Jackson for getting me going and talking about movies and all the fun stuff beforehand. I told you I can't do two things at once. So so now you have the ability to download participant guides. You see them right there in the chat. And we are going to get this ball rolling. We do advise, please take notes. And before I continue, Ms. Jackson, I'm not so sure who I'm handing it off to do the land acknowledgement.
I can do the land acknowledgement, no problem. I would like to acknowledge that we are here, or I am here on unceded Dena'ina land. The way that I like to do land acknowledgement is I like to encourage people not only to know the land that you're on, but to learn something about the people whose land we reside on. So one of the interesting things about Dena'ina land is the Eklutna village that is just north of Anchorage, and that is land that has actually been taken back by the indigenous people of that community. And so I encourage everybody to learn something new about the land that you live on. We are here at their behest. Quite frankly, the land was stolen from them, and we work every day to make sure that they are acknowledged for the sacrifices that they've made to make it all so that we can live in this beautiful place that we call Alaska. Handing it back to you, DJ.
Thank you very much. I'll be the first person to tell you that I had, prior to partnering with Stand Up Alaska, I'd never heard of doing a land acknowledgement. And so when Felix was like, hey, so we're gonna do this thing called a land acknowledgement, I'm like, okay. And in my head, I was like, this is like real estate thing. Cause again, never heard of it before. And then when he walked me through it, I was like, that is so dope. And so I'm like, we have to figure out what's the Florida version of that, which it'd be completely messed up because it's Florida.
I
But
would be more than happy to send you a link to a map that will tell you what indigenous land you reside on any place in the United States and I believe North America. So I'll get that resource for us.
let's go. See, they're asking, you shall receive, closed mouths don't get fed. Thank you so much. I accept your terms and conditions. That is awesome. I would like to bring this tradition to the so-called free state of Florida. I'm gonna keep saying that so-called. So, and I do want to also just acknowledge there is an individual who is also joining us today who was not on the first session, and that is a Miss Jessica McCoy. Jessica, thank you so much for joining. Jessica is the Chief People Officer for Diversity of Thought Inc. And she is also joining us today. So, hey, Jess. And let's see here. There we go. So welcome to the classroom. And before we get too far ahead, I know you all were here with each other, but if you could, just a real quick brief, what's your name, your occupation, and why you're here. We're going to do this snappy so that we can keep it moving and get into the material because we started a little late. And we're going to go ahead and start with the first person I see on my screen, and that is Emily.
Hi, good morning. My name is Emily. I work in coalition with Aaron and a whole bunch of others here and also at Native Movement. And I'm here because I helped organize the Civics Academy and I'm really excited to be here with y'all. I will pass to Aaron.
Hey, everybody. My name is Erin Jackson Hill. I'm the Executive Director of Stand Up Alaska and one of the creators of the Civics Academy. And the reason why I'm here is because I am concerned about our political environment on every level of government. And I am concerned about every branch of government. So I'm here to teach and learn with you so that we can identify the levers of power, learn how to pull those levers to make the change that we want to see. That's why I'm here. And I am going to kick it to Jen.
Thank you, my love. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jen Williams. I'm a team member with Alaskans Take a Stand and Stand Up Alaska. I'm also the director of the National Medicaid Barriers Project. I'm here to advocate, lobby, do whatever it takes to make positive change, especially for caregivers. I belong to the Caregivers Union, and we're really trying to unionize Alaskan caregivers at this time. I'm also a huge advocate for LGBTQ rights. Also, I'm a hardcore environmentalist from back in the day, tree hugger, if you will. Anyways, I will popcorn it off to Sam.
Hello, I am an administrative assistant at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. I'm in both the Department of Music and the Department of Theater and Film. And I'm here just because I want to get more involved and learn more about, government and lawmaking and trying to help rally people against, especially on the more state and local level, because some of the things that are happening in the Alaska government. And let me see, I'll go ahead and Amelia can go next.
Hi, I'm Amelia. I'm not going to turn on my video because my internet is very bad. I'm about to start the graduate program in statistics at UAF, and I'm here because I want to make sure, I want there to be a better future, and I want to make sure that I'm getting involved locally. And I know that when I try to do that on my own, it can be super overwhelming. And I care about, people having rights and environmental justice, and the intersection of that with humans, of course. So yeah, that's why I'm here. Oh, and I forgot to popcorn it to somebody else. Let's see. Jessica? Is Jessica gone?
No, Jessica has not gone.
Cool.
Good morning, team. Thanks for calling on me. I'm Jessica McCoy, Chief People Officer of Diversity of Thought, and I'm here to learn and participate in today's training. I'm super excited to get to know each and every one of you and see how we can support you on your journey. Thank you. And I think that's everybody, maybe, or
Nope, we have Kyra and Mika.
okay, I will pop it over to Kyra and Mika. Thank you.
Hi, it's actually Kira and Mika. I'm Kira, by the way. I'm Mika.
Hi,
Yeah.
Kira. Hi, Mika. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. I suppose we are here to learn more about government and how we can get involved, because there are a lot of things that we look around and we see and we're really frustrated about. We talk about it all the time. And instead of just marinating in our grumpiness, we would rather like get up and do something about it. Yeah, Mika is just about to get out of the Army in behavioral health, and I am starting to work in environmental justice.
And it looks like we, can I just pop in right here? The iPhone 13 is Cora. She's not feeling well today, so she asked me to introduce her. She is actually an organizer on our Medicaid navigation project, and she really wants to learn. She really wants to be here, but she's not feeling well, so she asked me to introduce her. So I think that's everybody.
Thank you. You don't, I mean, I guess everybody knows Siobhan. You just gonna leave Siobhan out like that?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
my internet stinks, but hi everybody, it's Siobhan. I am currently using my old iPhone to be online right now. And on the other hand, I'm trying to get Xfinity to tell me what's going on with my internet. So I probably won't be participating as much, but I am here. I decided, and here's so
I think we're starting to experience what she's going through. Siobhan, that almost introduction was awesome. And I can tell you this, I can mess with Siobhan because my name is David Jones. I'm the CEO of Diversity of Thought, and I'm here because of the amazing Siobhan she got. We worked together for many years. And just her energy, passion, love, and drive to try to make the world around her a better place is infectious. And any opportunity that she provides me with getting involved into something, if I can, I will. That's usually typically the statement that I give her. So, hey, if I can, I will. And I know how passionate and near and dear this is to her. So I said, let's go. Any way we can come together as organizations, let's find a way to do that. So thank you, everybody, for the introductions. Let's see here. We're going to keep this party rolling and talk about what we're covering today as they pop up on the screen. So here we are. We're going to talk about our agenda for today. It's going to be the Alaskan government branches, state representatives and roles, and how a bill is passed. Now, I know in that first session you had the how a bill is passed, but we were talking more federal. We're going to get on that state level. So just some fun facts here. Alaska was admitted into the Union in 1959. And let's just see first for fun. Does anybody know the 50th state that was admitted into the Union? If you know it, go ahead and throw it in the chat and let's see who has the right answer. Who was the 50th, 50 state that was admitted in? Oh, look at that. All y'all knew it immediately. And it was Hawaii. Hawaii. Good job, everybody. That is correct. So this is the structure of the Alaskan state government. There's 3 branches. Let's see here. The branches are the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. We're going to talk about their roles and responsibilities and how they interact with each other. Let's see. Our goal is that you're going to leave today with a basic understanding of the state constitution. Everyone gets elastics. I want an Alaska Civics Academy sticker, and I want a shirt, because you said everybody gets a shirt, by the way. And so I took that as everybody on this call gets a shirt. So I'll just be looking in the mail every day like this. Anyhow, I apologize. I just really want the shirt. And Jessica says, please send to California. Listen, we're going to be rocking Stand Up Alaska shirts in Florida and California. Let's go. So our goal is for you to leave today with a basic understanding of the state constitution. That's going to include its history. That's going to include the key provisions. Let's see how it goes, how it guides the states and political system and the decision-making processes that take place. We're also going to hope you get a basic understanding of the roles of the elected officials in state government. That's going to include the governor, lieutenant governor, members of the state legislature, and how they're chosen and accountable to the people. So let's keep this ball going. All right, now we're going to start off with the Alaska legislative branch, which is all about checks and balances. So the Alaska state legislators, I can speak today, consists of the House of Representatives, which has 40 members, and the Senate, which has 20 members. So again, it's real similar to what you saw last on April 1st, as it relates to federal. Let's see here. The state legislative branch, part of the government, that's the one that introduces legislation or potential changes to the law. Both the House and the Senate have different committees that meet and talk about certain issues and consider bills to move through the legislation process. The Alaska State Capitol is the building that hosts the Alaska legislator and the offices of the governor of Alaska and the lieutenant governor of Alaska. It's located in the state's capital and Juneau. That's Juneau, right? I just want to make sure I'm not crazy. I'm saying it properly. Okay, cool. We had a fun time with that while this was being built. And I looked at it the first time. I was like, Juneau, yeah. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I'm pretty sure it's Juneau. I was like, oh, like the movie. And that's how I affiliate things, like the movie. It's horrible. So it's the state capitol is in Juneau. And the building was opened on February 14th, 1931 as a federal building. It was a lot of love that day. So joke, maybe some of you get it, maybe you don't. So both the House and the Senate have committees that focus on specific issues. They consider bills as they move through the legislation process. This is some of the things that they do. These committees, they play a crucial role in the legislation process as they discuss, debate, and make changes to bills before they're voted on by the full chamber. And I'm just going to bake this slide out so you can kind of see what it is. So before we really get into the nitty gritty of the legislator's body, I want to have a brief discussion with you all on one of their greatest powers. And that's the drawing of congressional district maps. So you might have heard of the term gerrymandering before. And we're going to see a cool video about like where it comes from and what it actually means. But first, I just want to walk you through this map, this visual perspective of understanding how gerrymandering works. So this is one of those where it's going to be super interactive. So I just saw in the chat, I get a t-shirt. Let's go. Okay, so I am going to walk you through the power of gerrymandering. So let's say that there's a vote that we have to get pushed across. And we're just going to go with the very far left, where it just says there's 50 precincts, there's 20 yellow, and there's 30 pink. Okay, so if we put a bill in and everybody voted their color, so pink voted pink, yellow voted yellow, who is going to win this vote? I'm just curious, who's going to win? Go ahead and throw your answer in the chat. Who's winning, pink or yellow? Who is winning? Pink, or yellow? You can unmute as well. If you're struggling with the chat, you can unmute and just yell out your, oh, never mind. It just said pink, pink, pink. Can you repeat the question and which are we looking at? Yes, I can. So we're going to look on the far left where it just says 50 precincts, 20 yellow, 30 pink. If there's going to be a vote and they are all going to vote their color, who's going to win, pink or yellow? And okay, pink. That is correct. Everybody that said pink is correct. Why? Because they got 30 pink and 20 yellow. So let's say they draw district lines and they create 5 districts, but they keep it even. Everything is even, as you can see across the board. And they're going to have the same vote. Who is going to win? is this going to be more of a yellow district as far as getting its way, or a pink district? Geographically, it's even, but who is winning this? Oh, look at there. Sam's like pink. I like that. It was P-I-K, then the pink. It's the same pink. That is absolutely correct. Pink. Woohoo! There it is. All right. So this is where it becomes interesting. So let's say then they're going to decide how they would like to draw their districts based off of certain information. And then you see how they draw the districts. It looks like, if you look at it this way, how I'm tilting my head, it looks like there's two T's. And if you look at it like this way, it looks like in the middle, there's a field goal post. But either way, if this was the case and a vote was to go through, who would win this vote? Would it be pink or yellow? And it's yellow, that is correct. Here's what's crazy. Did the number of boxes change whatsoever? No. Emily's shaking her head. No. It's a miracle, yellow, right? It's like, look, it's a miracle. It's just, if you draw lines the way you want it, you can make the game work in your favor. Wow. So this is just a visual representation or an example of the drawing of districts and what gerrymandering actually looks like. But we're gonna dive a little deeper into gerrymandering in a really cool video that's going to walk us through it. Now, here is what I'm going to ask of all of you. If you could please do me a favor. Anytime we watch a video, and we're going to watch 3 videos today, they're short, they're not very long, but they're super impactful and super informative. Try to find what you don't know and then take those down. And then after the video, I'm going to be like, okay, so share, what did you learn or find out that that you had no clue, or maybe you kind of knew, but you got some confirmation of like, oh, okay, now this is more clear. So make sure you take those notes. We're going to watch the video and then we're going to come back and talk about it as a group afterwards.
Hey, it's Dan Zimmerman. Welcome to Illustrate to Educate. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support more simple and objective videos on topics that matter. Also, you can now support the channel directly with the new Super Thanks feature. In this video, we'll cover the truth about gerrymandering and how it affects you as a person in a representative democracy. Gerrymandering is the political manipulation of electoral district boundaries with the intent of creating an advantage for a party, a group, or a socioeconomic class within the constituency or body of voters. The term gerrymandering is named after an American politician, Elbridge Gerry, who, as governor of Massachusetts in 1812, signed a bill that created a partisan district in the Boston area that was compared to the shape of a mythological salamander. The term has negative connotations, and gerrymandering is almost always considered a corruption of the democratic process. Many people describe gerrymandering as politicians picking their voters instead of voters picking their politicians. Gerrymandering can also be used to protect incumbents or politicians currently in office. Every 10 years, when the census comes around, legislators in all 50 states redraw their district maps based on the new population counts. In many cases, what they're really doing is drawing districts like these to make sure that they have the highest chance to win their next election. They combine census data with voter data to pick and choose which voters are in their districts and make sure that they win their next election. They use techniques like packing, which means lumping all your opponent's voters into 1 or 2 districts so your party can win the rest, or cracking, which means dividing an opponent's strong district into multiple weaker ones you can beat them in. Nonpartisan redistricting commissions have worked in states like Michigan, California, and Colorado to reduce partisan control over their voters. There have been bills like the For the People Act that have not been passed in Congress due to disagreements between Democrats and Republicans. This bill in particular is designed to put an end to gerrymandering by requiring states to use independent commissions to draw congressional district lines. The legislation would require each commission to have 15 members, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 independents, and would require proposed maps to achieve a majority vote to be accepted, with at least 1 vote in support from a Democrat, a Republican, and an independent. The bill would require the commissions to draw congressional district lines on a 5-part criterion. 1, population equality. 2, compliance with Voting Rights Act, which prohibits racial discrimination in voting. 3, compliance with additional racial requirements. 4, respect for political subdivisions and communities of interest, and 5, no undue advantage for any party. What's your thoughts on gerrymandering? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to Illustrate to Educate, and check out more simple and objective videos to the right.
All right, so let's jump into this chat. Talk to me. I want to hear from you all. What is it that you've learned that maybe you didn't know, or maybe just got some additional confirmation that you found interesting from the video we just watched? You have the ability to unmute and tell us, or you can put it in the chat if you like to do so. Either way is going to be perfectly fine. Jessica got the party started by saying that population matters. Absolutely.
I learned about packing is lumping and cracking is dividing. I didn't know about those terms in gerrymandering before.
I did not either. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate the unmute.
You're welcome.
Amelia says she knew the best practices, but I didn't know there had been an attempt at a federal act. Yeah, I did not either. The term gerrymandering came from a political cartoon. I'm surprised they didn't show it too.
So,
We're gonna have to go
sorry,
ahead.
could I didn't know that redistricting happened every 10 years after the census. That was surprising to me. I also think it is like interesting and disheartening and not all that surprising that that the people in charge of putting a law like the how do we call it, independent districting commission, that the people in charge of putting that into place like can't agree on it, and like no wonder. Well, it serves them better to be able to do gerrymandering. So I'm curious about like how we could push that more.
Amen. You know, it is hard when the people who have the ability to change or make the rules can benefit off of the way the rules are, even if they don't necessarily fit for the good of all the people, which is why understanding this knowledge that you learned, and then challenging those who are running for office to articulate their stance, and then holding them accountable once they get there. It's a process, but this is such a beautiful start to that process, because if we don't know, then how can we ask the question to those who are running, and then how can we hold accountable once they're there? So absolutely awesome. Great job, everybody. Thank you for the additional link in the chat. So appreciate that. And then also, Aaron, thank you for the other information. For the People Act is named for John Lewis, which is absolutely awesome. And then Alaska has started with ranked choice voting. Okay. Well, Alaska is ahead of the good free state of Florida. We're behind on everything that we do. Except for stupidity. We lead the country in stupidity. You're welcome, America. So let's get into the demographics of the Alaska's legislator. And first and foremost, what we will say is if you can, go ahead and scan that QR code. It's going to give you, I did, and I promise you it's safe. I'll never ask you to do something I'm not willing to do. So I scanned the QR code as well. And it took me to your Alaska legislator. And I got to tell you, it's really interesting. We start reading into it. You can get down a rabbit hole of really trying to learn who your people are and what they're all about. It's some stories to tell. So you've got the House of Representatives. So remember, the House of Representatives is comprised of 40 individuals. You've got 21 Republican, 16 Democrats, 1 independent, 2 non-affiliate. And the way that makeup is looked from a gender perspective is right now as 13 of them identify as women and 27 identify as men. And on the Senate side, you have 13 Republicans, 7 Democrats, 0 independent, 0 non-affiliate. That is not rare to see, by the way. On the House side, you will see it's typically, it is easier at times to win as an independent. It's not easy, but it is easier to win an election as an independent on the House side versus on the Senate side. It is extraordinarily difficult to win on the Senate side, as if you're not siding with one of the 2 major political parties. So as you can see, you have 0 independent, you have 0 non-affiliate. And you have 5 that identify as women, and you have 15 that identify as men. Aaron said free Florida. Ain't nothing free about Florida. And as I said, for short biographies of the legislators, please go ahead and scan that QR code. We're also going to send out information and resources after the class that'll get you access to that info as well. And so you also have, these are the folks that are going to be representing you. Those legislators are going to represent you in committees and act on your behalf when they're considering things like new laws or how to the distribution of money to fund statewide initiatives and different projects. So again, that's another reason why it's so important to understand the roles and the responsibilities of the individuals who are in your state legislature, because they are going to be making decisions that are going to affect your present and your future moving forward. All right. And here are some of those committees that they'll be inside representing you for. So we've got the community and regional affairs. You've got education, transportation, state affairs, and then you have different special committees. So that they have like energy, tribal affairs, fisheries, Arctic policy, economic development, and tourism. So I can give you an example. So for me, I actually work with in the state of Florida. I work with our county EDC. So we have the Space Coast Economic Development Commission, but we also work with the statewide EDC as it relates to economic development and the progress or lack thereof progress in the state of Florida. And then we advocate on behalf of people in that committee to make sure that they're putting the appropriate funds going into the appropriate direction. So for me, I'm an advocate for the Black businesses or the BIPOC businesses in the state of Florida to ensure that they're getting that same type of fund and love and distribution going in that direction. So like these are different ways that you can get involved with the different committees, but you have to know who the legislators are who are going to be in those committees, because if not, you might know the committee exists, but if you don't know who the people are and understanding of what committees they're in, then you don't know who to tap into and really lean on as you're trying to get things done. So I believe it is a break time, and I'm feeling good. So let me ask a question. Aaron, like, you tell me, do we need a break? Do we want to take a couple minutes or?
I think we should roll. Don't we have another break in here?
We do have another break. We have another break.
Because we are definitely behind, and there's a lot of good information in here that I want to make sure we get in. So yeah, let's keep rolling.
We will keep rolling. I got no problem. I just needed like the song to come on. You see me rolling. I was waiting for Siobhan. I don't know if she's still on or not, but like, you know, that was a perfect spot for her to come in. Okay. I was waiting. If the internet was better, I promise you, Siobhan would have came in with the music and we'd have been rocking over here. All right. So it's about that time for the Are You Slipping Up? The quiz. And as you saw before on April 1st, don't panic, take notes and have fun. This is all about fun. This time, though, I'm not going to ask you to unmute for your answer. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and throw your answer in the chat as we get through to the quiz. So we're going to go to the first question. And that is, what legislative branch has the most members? Is it A, the House of Representatives, or B, the Senate? Do, 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 let's see here. I see do 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 do. I thought she was gonna go boom boom. All right, so
I did.
Oh, I didn't. So it's your internet. I see House, Senate, House. The correct answer for which legislative branch has the most members is the House of Representatives. Remember, the House of Representatives has 40 members and your Senate has 20. So in the state, the House has 40, the Senate has 20, twin. All right, so, all right, That's good. That's good. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get another question up here. Bam. Every 10 years, legislators use data from the blank to redraw voter districts. Is it A, the almanac, B, the Constitution, or C, the census? Good luck. No, we're not going to do that. Look at that. Uh-oh. I'm seeing answers are coming in quick on this. They're like, the census is a census. Did I say that right? The consensus is a census. There you go. Census. I've said the word too many times now. Now it's like, it's messing me up. Yeah, the census. I'll take it. Hey, come on, alliteration. There you go. That is correct. And you know, there are so many organizations out there that will push really hard to make sure that we get the proper census data. You see that it's a struggle at times. And man, you know, I don't like this term. We've redefined it. So they sometimes like to say disadvantaged communities. Fun fact, we teach against that only for the fact that that's deficit framing, and we try not to deficit frame people, because once you do that, you start thinking people in that area are only that, and they get classified by that no matter what. So we try to asset frame. So there are people who are amazing and brilliant that happen to live in communities that don't necessarily get all the advantages that other communities get, and it's hard sometimes to get the census data for those areas. It is super important to get it, because that's how we can get additional funding for those areas. So that is another way that if you are looking to be able to give back, every 10 years, man, they're always looking for volunteers to try to help to get into these communities to get accurate numbers so they can push for additional funding. But then you can also
They
then pay
pay.
attention.
They actually, it's not volunteer up here. They actually pay people to do that. And it's a really great way to get out into the community. And COVID really screwed up this particular census. So I'm sorry, DJ, I just jumped in here. But COVID really messed up the census this time, which you can see with the gerrymandering that all affects. So the better that we can do on the next census, the more representation all of our communities have, because you know that they're going to count the people that have money. They always get counted.
They always get counted. They get counted immediately. Counted first, counted loudly, counted accurately. And again, Alaska's winning, because in Florida, they're like, we need some volunteers. The free state of Florida ain't free. So we have one more question. What isn't a main function of a committee? Ooh, did we talk about that? I don't know, but let's see if we get it right. Is it A, recommend amendments, B, create a bill's formal report of action, or C, draft new bills for consideration? Ooh, let's see. Let's find out.
I feel like this one's a hard one.
Let's see here. I can hear myself. Jessica, you gotta mute. It's like I hear myself. We're never, yay, this, you saw that Aaron said, we never promised easy. Let's go. All right, come on, folks. Let's see. You can, even if you don't know, take a wild guess. And if you don't want to type the whole thing, put A, B, or C, because that's a lot of words. So A.
Question
yes,
again.
Yes. What isn't a main function of a committee? Is it A, recommend amendments, B, create a bill's formal report of action, or C, draft new bills for consideration? Let's see here. I see create a bill. I see B. I'm going to go ahead and give you the correct answer. So if we look at, it was on the slide, and that is my fault. I should have probably slowed down and just walked through the different job responsibilities. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a pass on this. The job responsibilities are, if you are on a committee, you're responsible to look closely at the details of proposed legislation. You are supposed to recommend most amendments. You are supposed to have committee chairs that make formal reports of actions on bills referred to their committees. And after bills are reported, they are placed on a chamber's calendar for consideration. But what they do not do is they do not draft new bills for consideration. Remember, the bill comes to the committee that's already been drafted, and then it's time for the committee to actually work on that. Now, we're going to actually talk in detail later about how a bill is made from beginning to end. And I'm going to have some super dope assistance from the absolutely brilliant and amazing Emily when we get to that portion. But for now, we're going to keep it moving. I want to say congratulations and thank you to everybody for playing our game. And we're going to have another quiz at the end. So let's keep this party going and let's talk about the executive branch. And that's the head that appoints the head. So let's go ahead and watch another video. And you already know what I would like you to do. What I would like you to do is watch the video and see what did I do, what didn't I know that I now know because of this video, or what gave me some more confidence in the information I thought I might be right, but I wasn't quite sure. And then we'll talk about it after the video is shown.
Hey, it's Dan Zimmerman. Welcome to Illustrate to Educate. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly, objective videos on topics that matter. You probably know a little bit about state governors, but in this video, we'll look at 5 facts you probably didn't know. Before we get into all that, let's get a quick overview of what a state governor is. In the 50 states and 5 territories of the United States, the governor serves as the chief executive officer and commander-in-chief. They function as both head of state and head of government. Governors are responsible for implementing state laws and overseeing the operation of a state's executive branch. As the leader of the state, governors aim to pass new and revised policies and programs which could include executive orders, budgets, proposals, and vetoes. They often appoint department and agency heads to help them manage and carry out their leadership responsibilities. A majority of governors have the authority to appoint state court judges as well, oftentimes from a list of names submitted by a nominations committee. Now that we've done a quick overview, let's get into the 5 facts you probably didn't know. Fact number 1. Have you ever wondered what would happen if your state governor died during their time in office? In all but 5 states, there's an elected official called the lieutenant governor. This person succeeds in the gubernatorial office, with the exception of Massachusetts and West Virginia, if vacated by the removal from office, death, or resignation. Lieutenant governors also serve as unofficial acting state governors in case the incumbent or current governor is unable to fulfill his or her duties. Fact number 2. Did you know that governors have vetoing power? Governors can veto state bills, and in all but 7 states they have the power of the line item veto, which means they can reject particular provisions of a bill enacted by a legislature without vetoing the entire bill. This is particularly for appropriation bills, meaning supplier spending bills. In some cases, legislators can override a gubernatorial veto by a 2/3 or 3/5 vote. Fact number 3. What if there was a vacancy in one of your state's U.S. Senate seats? Well, in 47 out of 50 states, the state governor has the power to appoint someone to fill a vacancy until a special election is held. The governors of Oregon, Alaska, and Wisconsin do not have this power. Fact number 4. Have governors always been elected? Surprisingly, no. For territories, that is. Before achieving statehood, many of the 50 states were territories or parts of territories. Administered by the federal government, they had governors who were appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate, rather than elected by the resident population.
Recording in progress.
Governors began in Puerto Rico in 1948. The last appointed territorial governor, Hiram Rex Lee in American Samoa, left office in 1978. And in fact number 5, let's talk about the money. Only 8 states, Massachusetts, California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, currently offer their governors a higher salary than the $174,000 paid to members of Congress. In many states, the governor is not the highest paid state employee. Most often, that distinction is held by the head football or men's basketball coach at a major state university. Did you enjoy this video about state governors? If so, please hit that like button and comment down below about your thoughts about the role of governor. Also, share this video and subscribe to Illustrate to Educate if you haven't already. If you like this video, then visit my channel to watch other educational videos.
Okay, so you know the drill. If you would, please, you could throw in the chat, what did you learn that you didn't know, or you can unmute and give us that information as well. Talk to us, let us know, what did you learn in the video?
Okay, I'm gonna admit it. I didn't know what would happen when the governor died. If the governor died. Oops, sorry. Audience.
Very good. Did not know what would happen if the governor died, but now we have an idea what would happen. And what would happen if the governor died? Anybody remember?
He's over here.
It goes
lieutenant-
to,
It goes to the lieutenant governor. I'm sorry.
there you go. It goes to the lieutenant governor. That's correct. Didn't know that governors haven't always been elected. That did not know that either. Anything else?
I didn't know that basketball coaches and football coaches made more than the governor. I don't know about that.
Yeah, so I know a little something about that because I live in the South and we take our football a little too serious down here. So college football is very real. The highest state employee in Florida, Alabama, Georgia. I'm not sure about the other ones, but I know in those three states is the head football, well, in Alabama is the head football coach for Alabama, and Georgia is the head football coach for Georgia. They're the highest state employee. It's also the most revenue driving and generating product that any of the states have, that is controlled and run and state operated. So I know that seems crazy, and it is silly because it's a game. However, that's where we are. This reminds me, I need to watch the film Varsity Blues. Yes, it is absolutely like if you want to know how small towns take its college football, we are surrounded, like we're not even that small of a town, and it's almost that serious. But I am proud to say we have 3 individuals now who are have played in the last Super Bowl. So again, when you live in the South, you hang your hats on the weirdest of weird things. All right.
Herschel Walker.
Hey, listen, we didn't say that, like I said, that we hang our hats from this area of people who played. We're not putting none of them into running for anything. All right. I will say this. I know many, and I've worked with a lot of football players who are great
Tommy
individuals.
Tuberville.
Yeah, I know many individual football players who are great people who could be so much better if they did run, but it does feel like those who do decide to run are not the ones that you hope would. But we are going to go there.
Dan Zimmerman,
We've seen this already. All right, so let's talk about Alaska. And this right here is your governor. His name is Mike Dunleavy. The governor of Alaska, he's the head of the executive branch of state government and is responsible for enforcing your state laws and administrating state programs and services. So the governor is elected to a 4-year term, is responsible for appointing the heads of states of departments and agencies, as well as your judges and other officials with advice and consent of the legislator. It's so important to understand this because this person has so much power. Jen says, good thing I live in the North. You'd be shunned in the South. Jen, we don't shun anybody. Don't you know, we got Southern hospitality. All are welcome. So, but yeah, so the governor serves as the commander in chief in the state's military forces and can declare a state of emergency in the event of natural disasters or other crises. Man, I didn't know this. So here's a fun fact about this that I didn't know is I didn't know states had their own military because I was super confused as this was being put together. And I was like, what are you talking about? How they're not the commander in chief of the military. That's the president of the United States. Well, did you know that most states have their own military as well? And you should look yours up. It's usually comprised of some militias. Ours in the great state of Florida was put together and reorganized as far as it being funded in 2022. So not every state does it. Some might be decommissioned and some might be getting recommissioned. And so these are things that it's important to know, especially as you're looking at the person that you're going to put in charge of that entity. The governor has the power to veto bills passed by the legislator, although the legislator can override a veto with 2/3 votes in each chamber. We're going to talk about that when we get into the bill. And then the governor also plays a role in shaping the state's budget by submitting a proposed budget to the legislator each year and working with the legislator to negotiate and approve that final budget and what it's going to look like. It's the CEO of the state is basically what it is. And as we learned, if that person has a second in command, and that second in command is the lieutenant governor, And that's for you all, that is your young lady Nancy right here. Nancy Dahlstrom is your lieutenant governor. She is considered the secretary to the state of Alaska and is in second in command to the governor. She's responsible for overseeing notarial law and ensuring that notaries public are trained up to standards. She oversees and administers statewide elections, gathers and publishes administrative rules that the state government must follow. Is second in command, as we said. So if the governor, for some reason, cannot perform their duties due to illness, resignation, or even death, then that is when your lieutenant governor steps in. Now, another fun fact, the lieutenant governor is also considered the president of the Alaska Senate. And so they may cast a tie-breaking vote on legislation. I give you an example. So because your Senate has 20 people, if it's split 10 and 10, then your lieutenant governor has that tie-breaking vote that comes in and says, well, this is the way we're going to roll with it. And she also serves as representation of the governor. So sometimes the governor just can't be at places and the lieutenant governor will be there to support whatever the governor's agenda is. So that's how those two entity bodies work. Now we're going to move on into the judicial branch. And these are the judgiest people ever. That's kind of funny. And we got another video for you, and you know the drill when it comes to the video. So I'm going to hit play and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Since the colonies got together and declared independence from Britain, the state governments have had an interesting relationship. In fact, until the Constitution was agreed upon, there was a lot of fighting over just how much of this independence that these states had just fought for would have to be given up to the new federal government they were creating. The structure they came up with is 2-in-1, an overlapping system where each state had its own government, and the new country had one as well. Separate and apart from the state governments, we call that government the federal government. And by government, we mean all three branches, the executive, the legislative, and of course, the judicial, which are the court systems. So each state has its own laws and its own courts, and the federal government has its own laws and courts. And just to make it extra complicated, either court, state or federal, can enforce the laws made by the other. It can be confusing because sometimes the federal courthouse is right across the street from the state courthouse. Which one is the right one for you? The answer depends on the court's jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is the court's power to hear certain kinds of cases. The rule of thumb is that state courts have the broadest jurisdiction. It may be the opposite of what you would guess, but the state courts have the power to hear a much bigger variety of cases than federal courts. So the majority of ordinary cases are most likely to be tried in state court. State courts handle about 30 times the cases the federal court does every year, which works out to around 90% of the total caseload. But federal court will take over in special situations. For example, federal courts have jurisdiction over cases where the United States is involved as a party, and cases involving direct violations of the U.S. Constitution or federal statutes. This is called federal question jurisdiction. Federal courts can also hear cases between people from different states if it's for an amount over $75,000. This is called diversity jurisdiction. Federal jurisdiction also covers cases dealing with bankruptcy, patenting, copywriting, or maritime law. That's the ocean. However, if a state law violates a federal law or the Constitution, this can be argued in state court. But it's important to remember that federal and state court work side by side, and one is not superior to the other. Each recognizes the other's potential jurisdiction over a case. Whether you're going to court locally or dealing with the big guys, Legal U is there to help you prepare for it all.
Very good. All right. We know the deal. Unmute or throw in the chat. What did we learn? There's either some typing happening or some people are working to get unmuted. But what did we learn about the judgiest of the judges?
I have to say that I didn't realize that the state jurisdiction had 30 times the cases that the federal jurisdiction has. That's insane.
You look in the chat, that's the same thing. I think I was there too. We did not know that the state handled most cases. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, right? I did not know the state would do copyright law stuff. State courses in charge of 90% of the caseload. I think that's the part that stands out, right? It's just like, what? It's like,
And it'd be interesting to see the budget. Like, do they have 30 times the budget? I doubt it.
That would definitely be interesting. All right. Well, listen, again, man, we appreciate you for participating and answering the questions. We're going to walk you through just the different type of the Alaska judicial system. And so it's broken down into three ways. You have your Alaska Supreme Court, then you've got your intermediate appellate courts, and then you have your trial courts. This can get a little complicated and confusing. And that is just as a heads up, it's okay. That's just like everything with this process. There's a lot of resources available to help you understand it. And we're going to try to make sure you have those resources as well. Remember, this is going to be a high overview. So I'm going to walk you through this, and then I'm going to hand it over to Erin, and she's going to talk you through just a couple of more slides. But just for the Alaska Supreme Court, it establishes rules for all state courts and for all civil and criminal cases. The Supreme Court also creates rules for law practice in Alaska. And the legislator can change the court's procedural rules with 2/3 majority of vote in both houses. So even if the Supreme Court says yay, your legislator can oversee that as long as they have 2/3 majority vote in both of the houses. Then you've got your Court of Appeals. They hear appeals in criminal cases, post-conviction relief, juvenile delinquency, extradition, habeas corpus, probation / parole, bail, sentencing matters, those things of that nature. That's what's going to happen in appeals court. And then Alaska has 2 trial courts. They have the Superior Court and the District Court. Trial courts handle cases when they are first filed and make decisions on law and facts of cases within their actual jurisdiction. So that's just the high overview. Ms. Jackson, woo, I am for real going to hand it over to you now. And you just tell me just tell me when to click through. So here you go.
Sure thing. Okay, so the court system can be a little confusing. I actually have a soft spot in my heart because my mom worked for the court system for 20 years. So one of the things that one of the core questions I want to ask, who has participated in a trial? Has anybody here participated in a trial? I'm not going to ask you if you were a defendant or anything like that. Anybody?
I have.
What do you know what level it was at? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It was several years ago.
Okay. Was it intimidating?
Yeah.
Totally designed to be that way, right? It's confusing and it's intimidating. So we want to take a look.
I was the voice of the person because they and an advocate for them. So I wasn't allowed to say much. And so I just had to sit there and kind of observe my surroundings. It was very awkward.
Well, okay, I was that nerd that I actually used to go into trials just to watch. Like my mom would be at work and I would go after school and I would just sit in the courtroom and watch. If you've never watched a trial before, they're actually very interesting. But anyway, I digress. So there, basically cases start off at the district court and they get kicked up to the Superior Court. Those are actually 2 trial courts, and it depends on the type of case as to what it's in. But honestly, the judicial system is set up so that when you file your case, first of all, most cases can't be filed without an attorney because that's how confusing the system is. And it's almost a racket that you can't get through the system without an attorney. But if you're dedicated and you really want to read a lot, you can. But in any case, so then after the Superior Court, say you were found guilty in criminal trial. Actually, I had a boyfriend that did this. He got tagged on I'll just be honest, he got tagged on a drug violation. And he actually took his case all the way up to the Supreme Court because the police violated his rights when they searched his car. And so the judiciary is important. It's a very, very integral part of the whole entire government system. But I will say that, I'm sorry, I totally got off course. I would say that the district court, if you look at the different courts, the district court has a limited jurisdiction. You can click through the slide, DJ, I'm sorry. The district court has limited jurisdiction and compared to the Supreme Court, Superior Court, and you can tell that by the types of cases they take. It was created by the Alaska legislature. The court system was created by the legislature in 1959. And the number of judges can be adjusted on the Supreme Court, but that hasn't been done in forever. I will tell you one of the most interesting things about the judiciary in Alaska is the way our judges are selected. It is a very, very good process, and something that Florida might want to look at. We don't elect our judges. Our judges are appointed by a council. They are actually, they select 3 judges and they go over their resume. It's a very detailed process. And then and it's a nonpartisan committee. And then that committee takes those 3 appointments and puts them before the governor, and the governor selects. So we have a pretty robust process. And the only thing we vote on is to retain our judges, not whether they're actually selected. And so that is a really, really solid process and a great way to get fair-minded judges, which is what we want. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail about the court system. What I do want you to know, you can click through it, DJ, I'm sorry. What I do want you to know is there is a lot of resources out there about the court system. It can be very confusing. And if folks are interested, I'm actually on the Alaska Fair Courts board. I am more than happy to have an in-depth discussion with anybody, or even bring on Eleanor Andrews, who was a retired judge, to talk more about the judiciary and how we make sure we keep it fair in Alaska going forward. That's it. That's all I got.
I'm going to tell you, I don't disagree with you. Maybe we do need to take a look at that, because we got people running for judges, and then, or they're either running for judge on certain levels or they're appointed, which is a whole nother bag of scary insanity.
It actually is. You can tell that by some of the things that are happening right now. I mean, let's just look at the abortion pill issue. You've got one judge in Texas that is possibly going against 20 years of FDA approval, and he's barely qualified for the judiciary, barely qualified. And
I can tell you, we have a sheriff that helps judges run campaigns, and that should tell you right there that is absolutely astronomically horrible and terrifying. Because but they've also said that they believe that
again, I say free Florida hashtag.
Hey, free Florida. They've been on the record of saying that all political parties should align under the same ideology, in which I said that's not American, but we're not gonna go there.
I was gonna say that's the American.
All right, so listen, we're gonna cover how we pass a bill, just four easy-ish steps is what I should say. I'm gonna walk through these 4 easy-ish steps, and then I'm gonna pass it over to my good friend Emily, who's gonna give us some more context. So the 4 easiest steps is like here, this is just the Alaska bill approval flow. So first, legislation is drafted. So an individual legislator can introduce a bill, or a legislative committee, or the governor, her or himself, can do that. Every December, the governor submits a proposed budget for the operating the state's government over the fiscal year. It's both the House and the Senate's job to evaluate the proposed budget and submit it back to the governor with suggested changes. The governor then has line item veto power, meaning that she or he can pick and choose what they want to accept or reject. So they talked about how in some states the governor has line item veto power. That is, you are one of those states where the governor does have that ability to do so. Legislators themselves can introduce legislation. Sometimes the committee may want to make significant changes to a piece of legislation already drafted for consideration. A committee can then introduce a committee substitute or what's called a CS. Now the legislation is read across the chamber floor. The second part is the chamber floor reading. The legislation is read across the chamber floor and then referred to the committees. The Senate president or Speaker of the House has the power to assign the bill to committees. It is then the committee's job to meet and talk about the bill and then decide whether not to vote to pass it out of committee. Sometimes the committee may make changes to the legislation. When a committee votes a bill out of committee, it does go to the next committee of referral and then goes through that same process all over again. So then we're gonna move on over here to where once a bill has made it through all the committees of referral, it goes to the House and or Senate floors for the vote. And when it passes out of one chamber, the bill goes through the same process of the other chamber. It must be passed in the same form by both bodies. So let's say it passes through the House, but the Senate's like, no, we want to see these changes. Then all of a sudden, it's got to go back through everything again, because again, it has to go through in the same form by both bodies. And then the last step of four-ish, easy-ish steps. After passing the House and Senate, the bill goes to the governor for final approval. If the governor vetoes the bill can still become a law if 2/3 of the legislator, at least 40 out of those 60 votes between the House and the Senate votes to continue to pass the bill anyways. To override an appropriations veto from the governor, the legislator must vote to do so with at least 3/4 of the legislative votes. So that's 45 out of 60 votes between the House and the Senate. That's why you want to have people who are able to not just represent you, but who understand how to work together with people and to govern accordingly. It's about parties that work together to make things happen. I know we don't see that as much as we would like to, but that's the way in which it's designed to work. So we're talking about the way it's designed to work, not necessarily the way that it's actually working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass, first I'm going to give the power of sharing of the screen over to my good friend Emily, and she's going to give you some more information. Let's see here. I'm going to. All right, so I'm going to make you the host, and then I think you just have to make me the host back.
Sounds good. Thanks, DJ.
You are welcome. You have it. The power is yours.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So I'm gonna be sharing my screen, and we're gonna take a look at the state legislative website. So this is gonna be a bit of a walkthrough on how you can figure out what's going on with a bill. So first of all, you go to AK-Leg or AK-Leg, as I like to say it in my brain, .gov. And this is what the homepage looks like. One of the first things I want everyone to know is if you don't know your legislators, scroll all the way down to the bottom here. You can type your address in to see who represents me. I'm going to use mine as an example. After you enter it, you can see here, these are my representatives in the Senate and in the House. And then I can even click on that directly. It brings me right to their page. So if I want to know how to contact them, I can contact them right here. So while we're on this page, just want to show you a few other things when you're looking at legislative members. So here we can see their email, their district, and their phone contact information as well. And an important part for what we're talking about here and how bills get passed is we can see what committee that Representative Armstrong is on. So we go to committee membership, and she's a member of all these different committees for the House. Additionally, we can see what bills she has sponsored. So we click on legislator bill sponsorship. And if she is the prime sponsor, meaning like she helped craft the piece of legislation and helped introduce it, she'll be listed here for the prime sponsorship. Additionally, legislators can like jump on bills that have already been introduced and say they'll be a co-sponsor. So you can see she's a co-sponsor for a lot of other bills as well. And then finally, you can see someone's voting record on this page. So you can see what they voted for and against. So going back to the home page, if we want to figure out where a bill is at, we're going to use SB 32, I think, as our example. And so you enter that in the search up here, and it will pull up all of the information for the bill. So we can see here that the bill was introduced in January 18th of this year. The sponsor, the main sponsor, is here in capital letters. So that's Senator Elvie Gray Jackson, and then Tobin is a co-sponsor. They give a title here, which is just a brief overview of what the bill is. For here, it's to ban chokeholds by police officers. And when you scroll down, you'll see all of the actions. So for example, we can tell that there was a hearing on the 13th, which was just a few days ago, in the State Affairs Committee. And next, if we go, so on the same page, on the bills page, if we go to the full text, we can download a PDF to see what the full text is. I would say generally, I don't use this function because it's, unless you can kind of read through the legal stuff, it's pretty complicated to figure out what it is. So I would say, if you want to know the basics of what a bill says, generally, if you go to this document section, you can find what is called the sponsor statement. So when we click on the sponsor statement, this is essentially the person who sponsors and introduced the bill writes a brief description of why this bill is important and what it actually gets done. So this really gets to the brief summary to tell you what the bill does. So that's always useful, I would say, especially when you're planning to testify, to see what the sponsor statement is. You can kind of see, I think, a bit of why that legislator introduced that bill. Also, you can see all the amendments. There aren't any amendments for this, but if there were, they would be listed here. And additionally, something that's really cool is you can see the minutes and the audio. So if there's a hearing that's happening, you can actually watch it live on the legislative website. And if you miss it, you can catch up by going to audio and video. This will open a new page that will actually take you to when the hearing for that bill began, which is important because going back to committees, so let's go back to actions. We can see that here on the 18th, these are abbreviations. So I know, kind of looking at this, that this means state affairs and the judiciary. So those were the committees that it was referred to. So you can see here again, state affairs is the committee that it went to first. But even within state affairs, while those committees meet regularly, they are hearing about multiple bills at once. So the nice thing about going back to minutes and audio and looking at the video later is if that hearing was, say, an hour and a half long and they talked about 2 or 3 different bills, you can skip right to the part that's in relation to the bill that you care about. And one more thing I wanted to show you in regards to committees is if you, once you've seen this bill page, again, for example, we go to actions and we know that this was referred to state affairs. So let's say I really want to get this bill passed, but who's on the State Affairs Committee? So we can go to the committees page and going to standing committees. We're divided here by the House and the Senate. So we know it's in the Senate. I click on State Affairs. And these are the legislators that are in state affairs. And the chair and the vice chair have really the most power in terms of saying what bills get heard. So those might be some of the first people you want to reach out to say, hey, I care about this bill. I want it brought up for a hearing so that we can get it out of this committee, passed and moved along. And I don't want to take up too much more time, but if there are more questions, please feel free to drop stuff in the chat. But those are some of the basics of using the legislative website.
Oh my goodness, Emily, thank you so much. I've been going to that site for like the last 2 years, but I had no clue there were so many drop downs and details. That just simplified my life so much. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that was absolute. That was awesome. Like I'm over here. Like I went to my state, and it's nowhere near that simple to use because it's Florida. But watching what you're able to do and how you're able to, like, man, that's good. That's really, really, really good and really powerful information. Hey.
I just had a quick question. So it looks like, Emily, that was that particular bill, that chokehold bill, which is something that we'll definitely be following through this academy. It looks like it's going to judiciary next. Oh my gosh, I can't get it out. Judiciary next. So if we were going to write, that would be the committee we would write to, correct?
Yeah, so I need to go back and check. I don't think it's actually out of state affairs yet. So to get from one committee to the next, it needs to be voted on, and enough people need to say, yes, we want to move it into the next committee. So if it doesn't get moved out of that committee, it won't ever go to judiciary. And this was something when I first started working on issues on the legislature that kind of blew my mind. I sort of thought, oh, someone proposes a bill, and then we have all these hearings and things keep moving, and at some point they vote in favor or against. But if the bill is never brought up for a hearing, then it can't go anywhere. So that's something where we realize the power of who we elect is really important, and the people who sit on those committees, because they have the power to not hear things and also to like bring things up for a hearing. So yeah, judiciary will be the committee that is heard in next.
So it's still in state, so we should be focused on state in the two heads of that particular committee.
Yep.
Perfect. I know that's our off-week activity. We will be drafting a letter to the two heads of that from the Civics Academy saying, hey, this is important to us. Why are we choking people out legally? Thank you.
You know, and if I'm not mistaken, I know that what's super interesting is that Biden did an executive order since Congress was being Congress with the passing the George Floyd Act. And so those things on a federal level have already been banned. However, because we have, state, again, and we saw that even with judicial, you have state things that could be that are considered, this is the state controls this, can make the direction of how we move, versus federally can make the direction of how they move, but it's not always in sync. So I love to hear that you're going to follow up with the two individuals who are working on the state side. We don't have good state representation like that, but I will tell you locally, our local police chiefs have been very adamant about that, and we've had some local leadership that have go ahead and pass that through to say this is illegal and that we do not do this here, and that body cameras are mandatory. And we're a long county, so out of our 12 cities, I want to say 10 of those cities, they're mandatory, and 2 of them, they're so tiny, we're like, eh. So, all right, so I think if I have the ability to share, could you shoot me back the host power? And then we're gonna jump back in with, just in all honesty, all we have is let's see here. Nope. I am still, if you hover by me, and then there should be some dots. If you click on my dots, you can make me a host.
It's saying you're host on my end. Is it not working on your end though?
It says the host has disabled participant sharing screen. Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. You went to me. If you could please go to Dottie Studio and make that the host.
I'll do that. Okay.
I blame the hip hop. That was my fault. Yeah, because the studio is actually the host.
Oh, I think now that I passed it to you, it won't let
Oh,
me
I probably
pass
have
it anymore. I
okay.
think you
You
have the
see that?
torch
Look at
now.
that. I'm telling you. So I've had the power this whole time. Look at that. All right, let's see here. Gallery. And the weird part, oh, there it is right there. Look at there. I am going to make the host. Yes. And it just says now, I am the host. It says you have the power. Look at there. And I'm going to share the screen, which is going to be weird for us. Oh, there we go. And we should be back. Booyah. I love it when a plan comes together, because now that we have had all this amazing information, it is time for our final quiz. And I know that makes you sad, but this is the last, are you slipping up for the day? And we're going to find out if we got these answers. So, which position is the head of the executive branch? Is it the lieutenant governor, the governor, or the Supreme Court? All right, let's find out. What do you think? You can throw your answers in the chat. Which position is the head of the executive branch? The lieutenant governor, the governor, or the Supreme Court? The governor. Gov. I see governor, gov. DJ's got the power. I love it. I got power. All right, let's see. Governor. I'll be showing my age with some of these references. Governor. I like it. You really do. You leave me alone, Siobhan. The correct answer is the governor. Good job, everybody. Give yourselves one of those nice pats on the back because you all did good. I love it. All right. So, which court establishes rules for all state courts? Which court establishes rules for all state courts and for civil criminal cases? Is it the Supreme Court, the District Court, or the Superior Court? Ooh, which one is it? I see. Oh, hold on. That's not fair, Jen. You said that could be superior or supreme. Ooh, see, but I like what you did there, though. I see what you did there. I like it. I'm like, I'm putting sup because you know what? I got either which way I'm good. I like that supreme, baby, where did our love go? I see. I see what you did there, Siobhan. Jen ain't sneaky. Jen said, oh, I know how to play this game. The correct answer is the Supreme Court. Good job, everybody who selected the Supreme Court. We love it. And then what comes after a bill passes committee? What comes after a bill passes committees, House of Representatives, and the Senate? It's gone through all of that. Does it go to A, approval from voters, B, approval or veto from the governor, or C, reviewed in an appellate court? That's an appeals court. I hope I'm saying appellate.
Appellate.
Appellate. There you go. I'm country. I told you I'm country. So this is what happens when you hire a country person to do these things.
That's why I'm here for you.
I see B, governor there. Spot of T, governor. I see approval or veto from the governor. It feels like everybody's feeling like the answer is B, and the correct answer is B is your correct answer. It B going to the governor for the final approval. I like it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That's it. We've covered the structure of the three branches of the Alaskan state government, a little bit about the roles of the elected officials and the processes of drafting and passing legislation through the state legislator, even those identifying who some of those are, and a really cool way for you to find out who is your representation in the area. Emily, I got to tell you, super powerful. That was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. This content is going to be available in the Google Docs folder, and the recording of today's class will also be there. Please don't forget the calendar of local events is also posted, and I know that they are looking forward to seeing you at some of those community events. I wish I could be there with you, but I'm going to be over here fighting a good fight in the hashtag free state of Florida. But if you do have any questions, we do have a contact for you. That would be Denessa at standupalaska.org. That is DENESSA at standupalaska.org. I have been.
That's not. It's Civics. It's Civics at Alaska. I don't know how Denessa's. That's not a good email address.
Okay. Hey, so we're gonna go ahead and just just take everything I just said and agree with it until it gets to the end when I said it is Vanessa at standupalaska.org. And that is going to be Civics at standupalaska.org. That is CIVICS at standupalaska.org. If you have any questions, and I have been your host for today. And I have to tell you, I really I love watching what you all are doing. It is super impactful. You can make a difference. So please, please, please do everything you can to make the world around you a better place. Because if we're all taking the opportunity to make the world around us a better place, the entire world gets better. So thank you so much. Have a very good rest of your weekend.